So, good evening. Good evening. This afternoon, I went out, and just as we were returning, then it started raining, right? Strong rain. So after coming here, then I was outside the door and just drying off, and then there is this painting of Sibokolo. Sibokolo, is it wheel of cyclic?
Cycle of life.
Yes, wheel of cyclic existence. So and below the painting there were some verses, right? So then I read, and then two words. First was Chiwa Samna Chime Dotap Che, right? So the meaning is something like, if one reflects on death, then one will prepare for the path to next life, something like this. So this line, if to put it in a more, I think, general context, then what is death? Death is a form of impermanence, right? So if one thinks about impermanence or the changing nature, then one will be prepared. One will be prepared, for the change, right? Or one will be prepared for what's coming next. Yeah. So maybe we can take it like this, right? This is, I think, very important. As you all know, this Lojong mind training, it's specifically in the context of training ourselves in generating the two bodhicittas, the two awakening minds, right? So this is Lojong. But before doing that, or should I say, mind training isn't just about just trying to be in the state of these two awakening minds, right? Something like preparation. As a preparation, then one has to engage in training oneself, in making our minds something like I don't know, to make it maybe conducive in in simply being the platform for these two bodhicittas, right? So then how to set the mind, how to prepare ourselves. So this is very much part of that Lojong mind training. Lojong, it's not some abstract practice of trying to generate, like, it's not simply like just a visualization kind of thing. It's not, right? But rather, it's really about how to prepare ourselves in making our minds suitable, suitable. So like that. And this is very important, if we don't think about impermanence, the changing nature, and if we simply sort of give in to our fantasies, if we simply, if we were simply to give in to our something like expectations, if you will, or perhaps unrealistic ones, those are, I think, quite dangerous. They can, they can, if one is not careful, then with these unrealistic expectations, then I think one could be affected, right? Negatively affected by emotions that come with unrealistic expectations. So then accepting this changing nature, it helps in overcoming some of our issues, our daily issues. Many of our hopes and expectations, it's strange, yeah, or maybe perhaps funny how we have all these images, how we form these images in our mind, and then we project that as our goal, right? As our purpose in life, and then we try to seek just that, and then and then the rest of the days, then we find ourselves sort of chasing that, right? Chasing what we call maybe our dreams, whatever, right? So then how to differentiate the realistic ones from the unrealistic ones? Yeah. And then for this kind of making this distinction between the realistic goals and then the unrealistic goals, which I think we, at least those of us who are not so trained, we are something like we are naturally experts in having these expectations, and then sort of like drawing this beautiful picture, right? Drawing this beautiful image. So somehow we are like artists in that way, right? And then we really, it's like art, art is in a way like that, right? Art is, it's almost like an extension of your mind, of your thoughts, of your emotions, right? So it's very interesting how we project these arts, how we project these paintings and beautiful drawings, right? So mentally we are, I think, doing that, yeah? We are doing that. So then how do we differentiate between painting like a realistic picture versus an unrealistic one, yeah? And this can be, I think, yeah, because if we paint an unrealistic one and then spend our time, our energy trying to fulfill that, to just chase after that, then it could end up as something like just waste of energy, right? So then in this process of making these distinctions, then something like I think, oh, thank you, this accepting change, right? it helps. It helps in making these distinctions. In many situations, it helps uh, in it helps us, of course, on a practical level, on a daily basis. We have many of our issues have to they simply have to deal with the fact that we have not accepted. We have not come to accepting the situation or accepting how the person thinks, or simply not accepting how we think, or even sometimes it's so unrealistic, the pictures that we paint and then chase after. Sometimes these pictures are so unrealistic to the point that we even end up blaming ourselves for how we look, for simply how we even look. So these kind of things, they happen because we are not able to think about the changing nature. If we have a better grasp of the changing nature, then perhaps these unrealistic goals, then in impermanence, in change, in their changing nature, then we see our goals for what they are, right? Not how we wish them to be, right? So this is, I think, something like an important reminder, right? An important reminder to accept that. Chiwa samna chime dojapche. So by thinking about the ever-changing nature of our world and the inhabitants and all the contents in this world, then we have a better perspective. We have a better perspective. Perspective is so important, right? Because if we simply look from the viewpoint of our fantasies, then when things don't go according to our plans, according to our fantasies plans, then sometimes we find something like maybe we feel hopeless, or we feel that we feel that we have come to a dead end, or we feel that we have now hit the lowest point, something like this, right? Rock bottom, right? So in this way, then accepting and understanding and simply accepting the changing nature is very helpful in preparing us for change. In whatever form that change manifests, right? In whatever form. So this, I think, is somehow like of course it is a basic way of thinking, but sometimes I feel that this thinking, right, this way of looking is so basic that we sometimes we tend to overlook that, because it's not something very hard to think about it, right? We all accept that, right? But then when in practice, then somehow then we go back to this other mode of thinking, right? So to remind ourselves of that fact from time to time, I think is something like what you have, like a prep test, like an entrance exam, right? Like an entrance exam, yes. So this is like an entrance exam. So to like this, right? And then the second line, what was it? Chivasamna, Chimen Dotapche. And then the second one was, yes, Lende Samna, Pame Nele Dos, right? Lende Samna, Pame Nele Dos. So here I think something like Lende is karma, right? Cause and effect, right? Karma. So if one thinks about karma, right? Cause and effect, then one will then one will be careful or mindful. So this is like the meaning of that. What is it called? Is it conscience? Like being careful in one's thoughts. Cognizance. Okay. Yes. Thank you. So, conscientious. Okay. First, I have to do the this arabazana before, I have to make some prayers to Manjushri and then recite maybe 100,000 before I can say that. Conscientiousness. Yes. So conscientiousness. Yes. So by thinking of karma, then one will then avoid falling into the pitfalls of not something like adhering to conscientiousness, right? So something like this. So here, lende, karma, right? Karma, of course, there are different levels of karma, right? And the subtlety of karma, we don't need to go to subtle karma yet. Even on a very general level, something like on a level that we all can understand, that everyone can understand, is this, right? What is the point of karma, right? Why did the Buddha talk of karma? So if we think about it, then perhaps it has to do with taking responsibility. Taking responsibility for one's own actions, right? So if we think of karma like that, then yes, I am responsible for my actions, right? And if I am responsible for my actions, then I will, of course, heed more carefulness in my actions, right? So then, of course, I will naturally be more conscious. What was the word? What? Conscientious. Okay. Conscientious. Yes. So then, if I know, that I am responsible for my actions, yeah, and if I take responsible for if I take responsibility for my actions, then naturally this conscientious, I will be conscientious in my body, speech, and mind, or in my physical, verbal, and mental actions, right? In my thoughts, in my thinking. It's okay? Okay. Oh. Oh, you're okay? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, okay. This is like a real okay, right? Okay, okay. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay. So this conscientiousness. Uh, what was the other word? Conscience.
Consciousness.
Yes, not consciousness, like conscience, right? Conscience. Yes, conscience.
Conscious is the noun. Conscientious is the state.
Okay, okay, okay.
Conscious. What?
Yes,
What conscious?
yes, yes. So,
Conscientious of not doing something. If you're being conscientious of not doing something.
right, right. So, like doing something without any paying any heed, right? Doing something without paying any heed, or like just carelessness, right? Carelessness, not being careful, not being mindful. I think something like this, right? So, it's important to again remind ourselves that our actions have consequences, right? That they have consequences in the context of our relation with others, our relations with others, uh, even something like, of course, like when we talk, yeah, then this is really very important, because if we talk with someone carelessly, right, then sometimes if we are uh, careless, then these emotions, something like then when in this carelessness, then there is the risk that we lose something like perspective, or we lose uh, this emotion regulation, right? Regulating our emotions, right? Or in this carelessness, then we may become very, especially when we are interacting, with others. Then there is the likelihood that we may not choose the right words, right? We may carelessly choose a word, then which would not be which wouldn't be received well, like this, and then hurt the other in the process of our interaction, right? So then, even in those scenarios, then we need to just apply carefulness, yeah, apply carefulness, and even for a simple thing like I think like looking at someone, right? Looking at someone, then even a simple act of just looking at someone, we again have to be careful, right? Careful here does not necessarily mean that we have to always be thinking or be conscious of the fact that, oh, I have to be careful when I'm looking at you. I have to be careful when I'm looking at you. Of course, that is, I don't think that is the way, because then if we do it like this, then I think it may be, we may be overwhelmed, overwhelmed by these, by thinking like this. So careful meaning that to sort of periodically reminding ourselves that to apply some level of mindfulness, just just the right amount of mindfulness, and something like the basis of this, then perhaps here, I think this what we call accepting others, So if we have this accepting others, if we have this, if we truly believe in this accepting others, irrespective of their ethnicity, their religious backgrounds, their beliefs, the way they look, etc., accepting others, then this it also has it also leaves, I think, positive effects on our mind stream, which is something like the motivation, which motivates like a simple act of just a gaze, just looking at someone, right? So if we look at someone from a place of acceptance, then this is in a way like applying the carefulness part, without sort of verbalizing or telling ourselves during, like, constantly reminding ourselves of being careful, right? So like this, I think, yes, it's like we think like this, and then that effect, it we are affected by thinking like that. But of course, this may only be for a few minutes, right? But then through training like this, then we can sort of prolong this duration in which we are affected by these positive thoughts, right? This positive thinking. Since our something like happiness comes from it comes from from the kindness of others, then it makes sense that if we truly want to be happy, then we have to. The only way to be happy is by sharing our happiness with others, by sharing our compassion with others, right? So this acceptance is first like the basis of, I think, compassion, right? Acceptance. So this is very important, So with this too, this accepting change, and then accepting something like the consequence of our individual actions, then how to bring these together, right? So that we can tackle some of our human issues, especially in the context of relating with a fellow human being. This is so important, right? This is so important. I think Dai Rinpoche once mentioned that if we have to, if we meditate or if we practice compassion, then we have to do it from our homes. We have to do it first with the person that we spend most of our time with. This is very important, right? Very important. So, like this. And then with the first point, changing. If you think about it, change, it has to do with something like perception and reality. Whenever you say, oh, I didn't know that changed. So first, what was the perception? It was that it would have been the same thing. But then later you realize, it changed, right? So that's the reality. So again, if you bring these two aspects together, then it's something like there are some parallel with the two truths, right? The two truths, right? Relative truth and ultimate truth, right? Or conventional truth or ultimate truth. So these two truths, it has to do with our perception, right? So perceptual, like the perceived reality, one could say is relative truth, and then what's beyond that, right? So this is ultimate truth, right? So our perception and reality, the two truths, right? And in a way, this, I think, it also goes with change, with impermanence, right? So again, how to bring these two together, right? This is very important because sometimes we feel, of course, we perceive things, we have ideas about, we have our, each of us, because we are individual beings, we have individual minds and individual thoughts and so on and so forth. And then we have our viewpoints, and then if we all think that our viewpoint is like the something like the authority, it's the one that trumps all other views, then this is not very conducive. It's not very practical, especially when we have to share the space with a fellow human being, when we have to share the space with other people, right? So then to always something like remind ourselves that yes, this is how I see it now, but that could change, right? So again, change, right? So this way, then this changing bit is something almost like the ultimate reality part, right? So this is my view, but then my view could also change, yeah? Just because I see it like this doesn't mean that I will always see it like this, right? So again, accepting change, it's I think very good, in our human to human relations, So this, yes, and then also applying the consequence part, in relation to, yes, in the context of communicating and being with a person, then like this, I think this is the way, right? This is, I think, one way. This is one way of sort of tackling some of the issues. So one thing. Maybe at this point, maybe if you would like to share something, or question something, question answer, please feel free. Oh, there's a question.
My question is it correct to repeat, and can people be reborn as plants, trees, flowers,
Oh.
Or that? And if so, what karmic deeds did they do in their past life?
Oh. George, right? George. Thank you for the drawings. Yes. The first drawing was of Buddha Amitabha, and then the second one was of Zambala, beautifully drawn. So perhaps one day you could give me drawing lessons. Yes. So your question, I think it was two-part. The second part I understood, but the first part, something about pets,
Actually, can people sell animals as pets?
animals.
Is that correct? Like cats and dogs.
Uh-huh.
Can they sell them as pets? Like, is that correct?
To see them as pets.
To sell them.
Business
Sell.
of buying and selling pets.
Uh-huh.
Pet shops.
Yes,
Pet
yes.
shops selling
Yeah.
animals.
Yes.
Is it right?
Is it right? That's a very good question, George. Yes.
Oh, and it's actually my mother who thought of it.
That's a difficult one. Yes. Somehow, this question, your question, it's very nice. I was, I mean, personally, I don't like to go to the zoo. I feel like that's like going to the prison for animals, right? That's the feeling I get. So I don't like, I prefer not to go to the zoo. And in a way, I think that goes with your question, right? I mean, selling pets, pets as commodities, in a way. But then on the other hand, we have to again look from a different point. If there was if no one was selling pets, right? And then yes, maybe, in an ideal world, I think if pets were not sold and simply sort of you could ask from a neighbor or like that, maybe you could go on, I don't know, some website and say, yes, give the address and say, I'm looking for a small, what is, like a pug, or what's that other, maybe like a Labrador or a golden retriever or something like that, and then the person could contact you, and then then they could give you that, right? So if we had that, I think that would be nice, right? Yes. So I think. But then you have to think about like the practical side. These days, I think most people would have maybe just one cat or one dog. Most people, I think, yeah. And they usually perform this kind of surgery so they cannot have babies, right? Like that. But then one could say this was done because of the pet business in the first place, right? But then, so this is, I think, what makes it difficult. Yes. But then from from the other viewpoint, then of course some people have that business, and then of course it takes they need to cover the costs of raising those animals in the first place, right? So that needs to be covered, and so for me, it's a difficult one. Like, in a way, the person is making a profit from selling this animal, right? But then you could, if making profit from selling animal was somehow negative, then you could apply the same logic to how about nomads, right? Then how about milking cows, for example? Aren't we profiting from milking the cow? I mean, do we really deserve? For sure, the milk was not intended for us, right? So then, when I think like this, then I have a dilemma, because these are questions of an ethical nature, and then where do we draw the line, right? I mean, where do we say, okay, this is ethical, milking cows and then selling the milk is ethical, but selling pets isn't. So how do I make that distinction? What comes up in my mind right now, because you asked. So that's a little difficult. But then, with the pet business, of course, then that way, then I think so many people are able to get cats and dogs and pets as a result of having these businesses, right? And without this, then somehow, then it doesn't work. So I don't know. And then to your second part, which was, can we take rebirth as plants? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, and if so, what karmic deeds would a person do in the past life to be reborn as a plant?
To be reborn as a plant. Yes. That's very interesting. These terms like living being, sentient being, right? Very interesting. I think plants would be considered living. Yeah, they are alive in a sense, right? But then I don't know about the being part, living being. I don't know what being means, right? So does being have to do with consciousness? With having consciousness? I don't know. Or the being part? This I don't know. Or being, we don't have to think so much about the being part, but simply maybe we can make a distinction between living beings and sentient beings, right? So plants are living beings, but maybe not sentient beings, right? Not sentient beings, because they have no consciousness, no minds. Yeah? But then if one were to ask, how do we know that? How do we know that plants don't have minds, right? Because we have never been plants, right? So how do we know that plants don't have minds? Is it purely based on the fact that maybe they don't react to us as as other sentient beings would?
Did you know the mimosa plant will actually shrivel up when anything touches it?
Maybe, yes. You can turn on the mic. Was it turned on?
The mimosa plant actually will shrivel up and close its leaves when you touch it.
Yes, yes, yes. And then I think these flies that land on it, it will slowly digest. Yes, yes. So something like so to be honest, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say. Because there are, of course, some philosophical traditions which accept that plants also have minds, you know. But personally, if we see plants as sentient beings, I think that would actually be a good thing, right? Then we will be, I think, more careful about cutting down a tree, for example. We will be more careful about deforestation, right? For an example. So if we can, the point here is if we treat plants with respect, yeah, then I think this will be much better than to treat plants like they have no, like they don't have any important roles in our environment, you know. So George, I think I failed the test. This is the bottom line. The bottom line. I couldn't answer the first part of your question, neither the second part of your question. So the bottom line is failed.
You mean I said an unanswerable question?
Excuse me?
You mean I asked you an unanswerable question?
I failed, of course. Of course. Yes.
Phew. I thought you'd know the answer.
Yes.
I think you have to do a lot of science reading on that part so that you can understand the features between the plant, human, and the reflexology and the reflexes of certain plants. And certain plants eat animals as well.
Oh, please.
So when we understand about science, I think it has a clearer mind when we ask certain question, whether is it related to karma or reborn and rebirth and things like that. So in that case, we can move on. Maybe let's speak on. Just a minute. I think maybe that little on the question that I'd like to ask. Maybe I think we believe we should actually think of how we do not do life liberation in a very commercialized way.
Excuse me?
Life liberation.
Animal liberation.
Yeah, animal liberation. Yeah. So maybe not to do commercial way, in a way that people are looking for good karma, good blessing and things like that. So it actually defeat the purpose, and they go into Keelung and they say that they how many thousand is every week in Singapore. So I thought maybe we can actually educate some of the Buddhists who are doing this regularly every week.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Rinpoche. First, I want to show my gratitude to you because in 2019, I came to see you because I have two sons, and my elder son passed on in 2018 August. So in 2019, I came here to take refuge from you, and then you are very kind to see me and my husband, and immediately you did a chanting for my son. I want to say thank you to you. And 4 years has passed on. I have been working very, very, very hard to lift myself up. I think I have come that far. For the 4 years, I started from very angry, wanted to know why, because I asked myself, I'm kind enough in this life. I'm filial to my mom, and my son is very filial, very sweet boy, very kind. He could even save snails, but then he just passed on at age 25. So from very angry, I go into detail to learn Dharma. Before he passed on, I was already chanting, but that chanting is purely to bless my family, like everyone, the usual human does. After he passed on, I go into detail of Dharma, and I found out the answer. It's all about karma. And I still don't believe. I accepted it, but as you say, karma is very complicated. I also don't want to just think and what some have told me simply because of karma and your son have done something wrong. But I have met a PhD Rinpoche who said something very nice to me and really lift me up. He told me a story about during ceremony time, there is a monk who was very kind, but then he got accident and passed on the way to listen to Shikamuni's talk. And then that is because he's so kind that he's supposed to suffer. And at the end, because he practiced very well this life, and he reborn to Shikamuni's disciple. So that made me feel very, very good. Because people might say, it's because of karma. Your son must have done something wrong in the past life. That's why he passed on at this age. And that given like additional pain. Yeah, but then now I tell myself, my son have a mission. He came here to bring me out of samsara. And my husband has been telling me, and even relative, things that it is abnormal for me after 4 years that I'm still cheering. But I want to ask Kai Rinpoche, I understand a lot. I won't say I understand a lot, but I understand about karma, about emptiness, about impermanence, especially impermanence. I truly understand. There's no need to teach. I just understand, because it's like within second, my son just gone. He just sit in the office and then he passed on without suffering. But I believe that he has a mission to come here. So because of him, myself, my husband, and my son, even my younger son's girlfriend, we are all become vegetarian. We just learn a lot about bodhicitta, and then we just have that kind of compassion for sentient being. And for my case, I want to ask, as a mother to lose an adult son, even I know about Buddhist, about all the teaching about impermanence, does it mean that I have to forget? I have to let go everything? I told my husband, I may not be able to forget even until my last breath, but I take it as a motivation that this samsara is suffering. Although I'm very happy before, I had a good husband, loving kids, brilliant kids, but then in a split of second, all this gone. What else can teach me impermanence better than this? Impermanence better than this. So I told my husband, I cannot forget. This is a motivation. a motivation that I will never forget. So I work very hard and I practice very hard. Every day, I chant in Mandarin, I chant Amitabha, I chant Wuliam So Jing, Amito Jing, and Di Zhang Jing. So through this chanting, I feel calmness in me. And through this chanting, I dreamt that my son is very, very tall. And my husband dreamt that he's at a very bright, sparkling place. So all this given me inner peace. Yeah. But I want to say that I missed him a lot as a mother. I'm not enlightened yet. I'm not a Buddha yet. I'm still a human being. Only that I know about some Buddhist teaching. At this moment, frankly, I'm not the same person. And I will never be the same again. I have let go everything, material things. I've let go. The only thing is love. Love to my husband and to my younger son. But I'm practicing every day. I still have to let go all this. But I take it that remembering my elder son is something important I cannot forget. Because when I join some grieving group, their mother that forget and then they go back to the happy life. So I told my husband, this is a important lesson that my son, the mission he came here for. So I want to ask Rinpoche, is it wrong that as a mother, I'm practicing Dharma, but I still remember him? I mean, I tears. I live my life, I move on. I'm taking care of my husband and my son. I spend all my time chanting. But I think about him, I still tears. Is it wrong?
Absolutely not. No. Not at all. Not at all. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This Lama who said this is really wonderful. That's a great teaching. The most important thing is that you continue the chants. You know, this is very important. And as a mother, I can only just imagine how it feels, right? And taking that impermanence as a teaching, that impermanence as a teaching, I think is so important, and it heals. Impermanence in time will heal us. Yeah? So important. This tearing part, as a mother, this comes, I think, naturally. In our text, we say, when defining compassion, unconditional love, compassion, we say, it is like how a mother feels for her child. Yeah? So, really, this is, you need that, and you have that, right? So, when chanting, to also include, all the sons, and then all the daughters, and all the fathers, the mothers, and I think this is how we do it, right? To use this as the base, and then similarly, and then put more, right? and then for the sake of all the sons, all the children, all beings. So this practice you're doing, this is really very precious, and thank you so much for sharing that. Yes.
Rinpoche, before my question, I think this Dharma brother has a question just now. Yeah, he has a question just now.
Sorry. Maybe I just repeat the question. It's okay, I'll read it. But second floor.
Yeah, the second floor. Yes.
Because this thought has been in my mind for a long, long time. I think animal liberation and life liberation is important, but we do it in a very subtle way. Like, for example, we see a injured cat or dog, we helped. Okay, maybe that time when I was young, I saw a dog ran inside the drain, so we helped it up because it's a very deep drain. Okay, maybe we see some worms crawling on the path, we bring them up to the grass patch. But when we do it in a very commercialized way, like every week in Singapore, you go to the jetty there, people will donate thousands and thousands of dollars to buy fishes from Kelong. The Kelong means the places, the fisheries, when they rear the fishes
I see.
out in the sea.
Okay.
And then they pay thousands and thousands of dollars to the people who are selling the fishes. And then they pray, they liberate the fishes nearby. I'm not sure whether they catch them back or not. The thing is that when they do this liberation, I'm sorry to say, please pardon me, I'm still very young in Buddhism. They brought the fish up to the very, probably put them in a big container on the net. You will see them jumping and jumping and jumping. And all this anxiety, I think is not necessary. While the lamas or the monks or whoever, whichever Buddhist religion, they are chanting. And the chanting takes about maybe half an hour. So you can see the fishes are jumping because fishes without water, like without oxygen. So being a Buddhist, I think, do we do this? And then, of course, people who pay for it, they say, okay, life liberation is good lah, so you get good karma, and then it's also good for the fishes. They won't die in the restaurants and things like that. So, but is this necessary? Are there other ways to do it? That's what I'm concerned. Because I think it is good to educate. We should upgrade our mindset to educate how to become a Buddhist following the sutra better, rather than doing a very commercialized way and then close to, I'm sorry to say, close to maybe to Taoism, whether they just believe in God and things like that for the good blessing and good karma. I think Buddhism is not all about all this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So, was it that in this process of liberating the animals, did I understood correctly that they were putting the fish out of the water so that they could chant to them? Oh, I see.
Because they bring the fish, the people who liberate need to see the fishes, how many fishes they brought.
Oh.
So in order to bring back the sea.
Oh, I see.
Right?
So this, I don't know in detail how these things work, but generally speaking, in the case of like liberating animals, once a person mentioned that the person saw these people liberating fish, right? Fish liberation, but then they would just buy fish from like some place, and then they would go out to sea and then liberate the fish, right? So the person was saying, but that is actually not a good thing, because fish like us, they also have different territories, and there are different types of fish. And if you release them in the wrong area, then you're releasing them where their predators might be, right? So is this really liberating the fish, right? It's on the contrary. It's like so if this was commercialized, just like so if this case was commercialized, then the person would supposedly take these fishes from their natural environment to the market, and then they would be sort of released in some random part, and they could end up where their natural predators are, right? So this kind of things, then I have had these thoughts before. Yes, compassion is very good, right? But then it's like sometimes, someone may, ask for money, and then the person gives them money. But then this person could misuse the money and use it to buy intoxicants, something like that, for example, right? And then I've had people say, do not give money, because they will drink, they will, use it to intoxicate themselves, drugs like that, This is one part. And one day I was with a friend, and then, because after hearing this many times, then this friend was about to give some money to a person by the street, and then I said the same thing to him, what I've heard many times. Be careful, this person could, misuse the money and get drunk or something like that. And then, you know what he said? He said, well, that's for him, that's up to him. He can do whatever he does with his money, but from my side, I give with a good motivation. So then there's also this way, right? So which is the correct way? As a third person, for me, it's very difficult for me to say this is right, that is not right. Yeah? Because sometimes, like, there is good motivation, but good motivation does not always mean that. I don't think good motivation, I think we were talking about this a few days back, where, we could do something good, but then are we responsible for everything that may arise as a result of that action, right? Are we really responsible for that, You see what I mean, right? Yes. Or we may do something bad, something negative, of course with negative intent, but it could have good results, right? So then where do you draw the line? Yeah? We could do something negative and there's a very good result, So for example, if we show strong anger to a great Lojong practitioner, then the result is great patience. Great patience is coming, right? But then does that mean we can justify our negative actions? Then we have to think, we have to think. So like this, then sometimes as a third person, I know what I would do from a first person's viewpoint, but as a third person, I would rather not judge. And anyhow, not everything is perfect. Yeah? Not everything ends up all like absolutely faultless, absolutely taintless. There is no guarantee, right? Nobody can guarantee that, right? So then our motivation, this is, I think, yes, it's not only about motivation. We have to also think of the results, but then not to have like this, like a blanket answer for all situations. I think this is very dangerous. Just because someone, who was on the roads asking for money because they use this money for buying drugs, that doesn't mean everyone on the road asking for money means they will also use those money for buying drugs, right? So then I feel that if we are not careful, we may use these kind of examples for justifying our actions, So this, which can be, I think, dangerous, if one is not too careful, then it's dangerous. So this person, that how he said, then I think this person, he has a meaning, I simply give with a good heart, but what the other person does with this money, this is not in his control. This is like not our jurisdiction. This is like not our jurisdiction, right? But then if, of course, I mean, like in the case of liberating the fish, then of course it would be very good to do some research. If it's about liberating the fish, you might as well as make sure that the fish is in a good environment. So these kind of things, I think we have to take it like on a case by case basis and not have like a blanket answer. Is that right? Yeah. Yes. Something like that. Yeah.
Rinpoche, please pardon me for my ignorance. I'm still learning. Rinpoche, I have two questions to consult you. Number one is about practicing compassion and equanimity to all sentient beings. I would like to ask Rinpoche to advise. Supposedly, if we are doing rescue work for stray animals, we see injured, maybe a cat or a dog. So one will want to do the best for out of compassion, want to do the best for this injured animal. But I realize that at times it can be a little bit tricky because will we be going in the line of attachment? Because we want to have the good for this injured animal, and we will also start to get worried and concerned. So there is a dilemma there. How do we actually strike a balance or know when to draw the line between practicing compassion and not getting too attached to it? This is first question. Yeah.
Yes. Compassion and attachment. Yes. It's, I think, theoretically somewhat easy to differentiate. In practice, I think quite difficult to differentiate between compassion and attachment. The question was how to differentiate.
How do we maybe train ourselves to be careful when we are practicing compassion, how to not go in the direction of become attached?
I see. One way perhaps could be to think more from from the viewpoint of, for example, the animal. Not so much from our viewpoint, but trying to see from the viewpoint of the receiver of compassion, of your compassion, right? Maybe this could be a way, maybe one way, I think. When we become attached, then I think there's like almost like a shift, you know. We make ourselves maybe like the focal point, you know. It's all about me, right? So if it's all about me, then this attachment part is, I think, becoming stronger. But it's not about me. It's about the other, right? So animal or a person, whatever, right? In whatever form. So I think this is important, you know, from the viewpoint of the other. Very important to think about the other, and to, of course, at first, there's definitely the subjective experience. We cannot deny that, right? We cannot deny that, but to not focus on it, I think, is key. To not focus on that, even though that is part of our compassion, at least on a beginning level, like beginner's level. It is very much part of maybe attachment and compassion. They are both there, but to gradually, you know, if we think more from the perspective of the other, and then if we simply focus more on the other being, then I think to gradually this decrease, you know, attachment like this. That could be one way, right? That could be one way. And then, yes, to have compassion, but then not focus on compassion. This is a funny thing. It's almost like some game, you know, to have compassion, but to not focus on compassion. Yeah. So maybe like this, because when you having compassion is good, but having compassion and then focusing on compassion, I don't know. Yes. Then the compassion starts to take a big form. Then it changes from compassion to an object of our attachments, right? So be in this compassionate state, but do not focus on compassion, and instead the other. Yes. Again, this is all theories, and this is coming from a very ignorant person to a less ignorant person. If I could say it, if I could use your opening remarks as the premises, then I think I could say it like that. Yes. And then the second part.
Rinpoche, I understand that Sukhavati is the land, the Western Pure Land of Buddha Amitabha, and Eastern Pure Land is that for the Medicine Buddha. So I would like to ask if for some Buddhist practitioner, if they have greater affinity for Medicine Buddha, so is there a difference if they make aspirations to be reborn in the Eastern land, you know, of the Medicine Buddha, or for those that, you know, they make aspirations to be reborn in the land of the Amitabha Buddha? Will it be the same ultimately, is same Buddha land connected, or Yeah,
Yes.
I'm trying to understand. Thank you.
And like you, I'm also trying to understand. Yes. By the way, what is the pure land of medicine Buddha called?
I only know
If
in
there is a
Mandarin.
pure
Yeah.
land,
Oh.
if there is like a such thing as a pure land of Buddha, I mean this medicine Buddha, Mengila Pindriya. So the question was, is if the practitioner is more, it's has a more wants to practice medicine Buddha, then
Or maybe, have greater affinity for
Yeah.
the medicine Buddha.
Yes.
And maybe has got introduced into Buddhism.
Yes.
Because of this. And is there a difference when they make aspirations to be reborn in the land of the medicine Buddha or the land of this Amitabha Buddha?
is there a difference?
Yes.
So to answer, I cannot answer that because I don't know about the various. I don't know about these things in detail. So then, if I simply pretend to know and then say something, then this is of course not proper. So to be honest, I can't answer that. I don't know.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche.
But for example, I mean, we all know that the pure land, Sukhavati, then it would be interesting, when we have the time to study, if possible, like to approach the sutras, because we all know that Buddha Amitabha made those vows, and some of those vows are very specific to the land, right? I don't know if the medicine Buddha made such vows specific, in relation to the future land, right? So this if we come across such sutras, and if medicine Buddha also made similar vows, pledges, then definitely there would be a difference, I think. Yes. But then, if I may add, so let us say the 5 Buddhas. Now let us go with this, that all 5 Buddhas have their own pure lands, right? So each practitioner, depending on past imprints, various causes and conditions, have different affinities, and so therefore they choose a specific Buddha, and then they make this very diligently, and they engage in the practices with wholehearted joy and diligence like this. And when they are reborn in these pure lands, from my viewpoint, then is there a difference there? I mean, is there really a big difference in these various pure lands? Because they are all pure, right? They are all pure. So this is one thing, this is one thing. So when one becomes a Buddha, then the result is the same, right? The result is the same. But something like at the very basic level, we have something like different representation, right? In some ways, these kind of various descriptions are like, in a way, different presentations, right? Different presentations, but they all lead to the same result, you know. Yeah, ultimately, it's this pure land. It could be a metaphor for the pure mind, for example, you know. So ultimately, the mind becomes pure, you know. Our mind, in their purest form, you know, without all the these defilements and so forth, right? So if you think like this, then even though, yes, at the ground level, yes, there are different ways of sort of introducing each practitioner through different ways with different emphasis, you know, different emphasis, right? So like this, but then the result, the end result, the ultimate result, I think it is the same. Yeah, it is the same. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Rinpoche,
Oh, please.
thanks for your answer. I think you just answered my question. My question was on Tushita as well, about the practitioner having the heart connected to Maitreya all the way until death. So actually my question was like, if you really go to Pure Land, right, are you still in the sixth realm, or are you still within samsara? And just now I think you may answer the question by saying it could be just a metaphor. So is there any more answer you can give us as to what realm are we if we are really in the Pure Land?
Oh, so I think from your questioning, yes. So Tushita is one of the six God realm within the desire realm, right? This is Gaden, but then the place where Maitreya resides, it is explained as something like not in Gaden, but it's like if Gaden was like a city, then the place where Maitreya resides is something like a small town from that city. Yeah, this is how it explains. Yeah, Tongde Gitsudos. So Tong is like a city, and then Tongdel is maybe like a town, right? So I think these days you use like metropolitan area, so it's more like in the suburbs, you know. So where Maitreya resides is more in the suburbs. It's a very nice neighborhood without all the hustle bustle of the big metropolitan area. So something like that. So like this, then yes, this particular place. I don't know how to say this in English. In Tibetan, we say Yiga Chunzin, right? Yiga Chunzin. So Yi is, I think, mind, maybe. Ga is joy, right? Joy. And then Chö is Dharma, and Zin is to behold. Yeah. So Gande Yiga Chunzi. Yes. So Tushita, if that is the term for Ganden, just Ganden in general, then yes, Ganden would be part of the six God realms within the desire realm. So it's like maybe something like a samsaric realm, but then this particular place where Maitreya resides is Pure Land. Yes. So I think like this. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the next question.
Rinpoche, can I ask, when I practice Amitabha, we chant and we believe that if our deceased like relative is in Pure Land, and if I make the expiration that I want to go there, and when I pass on, I will see my relative there. Like, for example, my son. Are we able to meet at Pure Land? But when I read Di Zhang Jing, they say no. I mean, Di Zhang Jing mentioned like after one pass away, they will go different way according to the individual karma. So can I know, are we able to meet our loved one, our relative,
It is
deceased
possible.
relative?
It is possible due to the karma, right? The karma, this loved one, it's possible that the loved one has the karma to be reborn in Pure Land. Yeah, so definitely, yes, yes. One cannot say it's not possible because of karma. It is possible because of karma. Yes.
So we can still meet our
Yes.
deceased at Pure Land.
Yes.
Our deceased relative at Pure Land.
Yes. 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 I would like to think so. Yes. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Oh, please.
Sorry, Rinpoche. I'm quite new here. So, sorry, Rinpoche. Actually quite new here, and I'm very grateful that I attended your sessions and your teachings, because you got me thinking. So, so just now, because I would like to, whatever I say is my personal opinion, so please forgive me, okay, if I say anything like it's not right or what. So with regard to the little boy's question, can we be born as a plant? I think personally, if I read correctly, there's these five niyamas. Okay, these I mean, because I come from a tradition of a Theravada, so so for in the Theravada tradition, we learn that there are five niyamas. These niyamas are actually called the natural order that governs this whole universe. So basically, the first order is the physical order that governs the weather, the temperature, that one, So it is the order is a natural system of nature. Then there's this botanical order. Botanical order is governing all the plants and the faunas. So that is another one of the five niyamas. And it is not possible for one to be born as a plant according to these five niyamas, because for karma, the Buddha has, from what I learned, okay, if I'm wrong, please correct me. There are only six realms of rebirth. There are only six realms of rebirth. The hell, the hungry ghost, animal realm,
Yes.
human realm, and then the the 那个 sorry, asuras, and then the heavenly realms. So basically, for rebirth, cyclical birth, okay, my understanding is only these six realms that we can be born in cyclical rebirth. Then so that is my personal opinion and sharing lah. Then that's the karma. Then there's another one called the cognitive order. This cognitive order governs or explains the sequences of moments, like for example our perception, how we think, we receive information, then we form concepts, then we go on to think about it, etc., etc. Then there's another one, which is actually the last one, which is the dharmic order that governs the whole universe, the movements of the planets, the you know, the explosion, etc. Yeah, so so basically, I just want to share my understanding from the Theravada point of view. These five natural niyamas, which is the physical, which is the order, the natural order that governs, you know, the whole universe and ourselves and all that. So if I'm correct to say that we cannot be reborn as a plant. Yeah.
Yes.
Pertaining to the little boy's question. Yeah. And also, can I just give my little comment on the Pure Land?
Sure.
Okay. Actually, Amitabha has 48 vows, right? And Rinpoche has already very clearly told us that the vows to go there, I mean, because Amitabha has this vow to facilitate people from getting out of samsara and the suffering. So he made it so simple, like you have mentioned before, the 18th vow. As long as you remember Amitabha, you know, daily practice 10 then 10 times, or chant the Amitabha Buddha's name 10 times frequently, right? You will be able to go there. In Amitabha Sutra, it says that 不可以少善根福德因为得生彼国. So it means that you need to have that you need to have that merit, 善根福德因缘, and you must, according to what I understand, because I also vow to go to Amitabha Pure Land, there are 3 criteria. First criteria, you must believe that Amitabha Pure Land exists. 信愿行, then you must make a vow to go there. 行 meaning you have to go practice according to what Amitabha Buddha has taught us in his sutra, which is to take the precept, the 5 precepts, 10 meritorious deeds, and most importantly is to chant Amitabha's Buddha's name sufficiently enough. Then there will be such a thing as quantum entanglement, whereby because the Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, has made such a big vow, so when we chant enough, I think, in my personal opinion, sorry if I'm wrong, is that when we chant enough, we will be able to engage the Buddha's energy, like quantum entanglement, and thereby lift us up to his Pure Land. Yeah, basically, sorry. If I'm wrong, please forgive me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And would you like to add something? Oh.
一心不乱 and that 一心不乱 I don't know how to say. 你是一心不乱 so you interpret. And this 一心不乱 is so difficult.
Single-pointedly, I think.
Huh? Single pointedly, 一心不乱, and it's so difficult to achieve that, right? By reciting 10 times, but you must be in single pointed mind. So that is not so easy to achieve, because Rinpoche said we need to accumulate enough merits, then can go there.
Yes.
Because we are all sinners.
Yes. Yes, even though how you have both explained, there are 3 things one has to do. So it seems very easy, 1, 2, 3, right? But of course, when you look at each of these 3, even the first one, to believe that there is pure land, you know, even having good belief is something not so easy. Even coming with this belief is not easy, right? So, even though it looks like just 3 criteria, but if you go with each in detail, then it's especially I think this, like the third part, I think that has so many different components, that has so many parts, and all those parts have to somehow fall into place, and then it starts moving, right? So it's wonderful that you shared that with us. So thank you. Yeah.
Rinpoche, I'm very sorry to share again. I want to share something that which I learned. I think some of you may find it very morbid. If you feel that very morbid, then please close your ears. Many years ago, I learned meditation in Guangming San before. There's a practice called death meditation, right? So if you want to stop here, you can just close your ears. Death meditation can help us to attain impermanence in a better way and reduce our attachment, whether to our pets, to our loved one, to our own body as well. The death meditation, in summary, is like you meditate yourself, your body. When a person falling sick, the hair will drop, the meat, the flesh all rotten, and then the eyes drop, become skeleton, the internal organs all rotten, and slowly everything faded. It drops up by itself, all become ashes, and return back to the earth. So when we visualize ourselves in this kind of meditation, we can actually know that impermanence is something that we cannot avoid. Death is something that we are moving forward day by day. So that's why when we know that impermanence is there, we know that our body is going to be away. Only our consciousness and karma can be carried forward, right? So whether do we need somebody in the Pure Land or not, I don't know, my own thinking, I may be wrong. There's really no body form, no face for you to recognize when you're in Pure Land. I may be wrong, Rinpoche, I may be wrong. Because when we reach Pure Land, I don't know, I read somewhere it's the consciousness, it's the energy. We don't have this face anymore. Like, maybe if Dalai Lama going to be born again, do you think that he will look the same again? He probably different look, similar look, but maybe different look. Yeah, so I mean, I may be wrong, but please, I mean, this is my understanding. So I was thinking that when we understand this part, we practice our body, it's all impermanence, we'll die one day. So we know that our loved one will leave us one day. So when they are around, we be nice to them. We have compassion, we have love and things like that. But when they are away, we know that this will happen to anybody. So this reduce our pain, reduce our attachment. Then we will be moved on as a human body in this life. We'll do whatever you need to do. Living it well and leave this world well as well. LIVWELL, LEAVEWELL. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So we are approaching our time. So let us see. In our attitude, this is very important. Attitude, is that the right word? Attitude. How we view ourselves is very important. And I think something like viewing ourselves not as like a single entity, an independent existing thing or person or simply me, I, but to see ourselves as a part of the society we live in, you know. This is, I think, very important, you know, to not forget that, to not forget that we are part of a community, to not overlook the fact that we are dependent on others, right? And therefore, then this is something like, I think, our attitude, you know, like our view, learning to detach oneself. This is a wonderful training, to detach oneself, yeah? But then again, it's not so easy, right? The detaching part is I think, quite difficult and quite challenging. So something like this detaching process would obviously require one to change one's perspective and then shift, you know, and step out of our comfort zone. You know, this is, I think, very important, to step out of our comfort zone. When we feel a little uncomfortable, this is when we have to practice. When we are, okay, if you are feeling maybe too uncomfortable, then it's good, it's important, I think, we have to come out of that situation. But when we are feeling a little bit, just a little bit, this is when we have to, again, sort of regain our perspective, to then remind, because when we are maybe overcome with strong emotions, of course, it is not so easy to understand, to sort of recognize the moment, right? But when there's a feeling of little, maybe uncomfortness rising, when it's sort of, when it's building up, that's our opportunity, because we are right now in the, it's like the best of both worlds, right? We still are in a moment where we can immediately reflect upon our training, teachings, you know, etc. And then we are also then feeling that we are not now, like something like control is slipping, you know. We feel that things are getting out of control, right? So to recognize that moment, I think is so crucial, in this process, in this training process, in this mind training, right? So to be prepared for that, you know, by combining these two, right? Impermanence and something like mindfulness, just simply being mindful of one's actions, you know. These two, it will, I think, really help in regaining perspective and sort of finding our ground, you know, because this is, if we have no ground, then really there is no basis for none of these practices mentioned in the scriptures, in all the teachings like this, right? So So I think it really comes down to that, it really comes down to being grounded, being grounded and just not getting out of touch with the world we live in. This is, I think, so important, and not simply getting lost in our thoughts, in our fantasies, and really that is, again, not an easy thing to do, not getting lost in our fantasies. So thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you.